Dude, weed is so awesome. It's like magic and connects your spirit to the universe. It's a plant, so it's like natural and stuff. The government bans it because they can't make money off of jail if they did, and because they're racist and stuff. If we could grow hemp, it would take a fourth of the amount of land that the trees do, and we could save the trees. Also, big pharma companies don't want it legal because it cures cancer and stuff. Here's a link. I have 34 scientific journals that proves that weed and weed oil cures cancer. No. No, it doesn't. As much as I am for the responsible legalization of recreational marijuana, for many reasons, including drug wars in Mexico, hemp uses, reduction of imprisonment, and the fact that it's safer than alcohol, no matter what you may have heard, we don't have any evidence that weed cures anything. A friend of a friend was sharing a link on Facebook titled 34 Medical Studies Proving that Cannabis Cures Cancer. Right off the bat, the fact that it says cure means you should immediately question it. Actual scientists don't use the term cure when it comes to cancer. The best they can do is to cause it to go into remission and hope it doesn't flare up again. The link certainly does look impressive, and if you know nothing about the levels of evidence, you might think it's completely true. Just as a reminder, this sort of list back in the day would have convinced me with its impressive, complex-sounding results. I bought into a lot of hoaxes and bad sciences, from magnetic therapy to herbalism to acupuncture, with even less scientific evidence, mostly because I trusted someone who seemed to be an expert and was all in all a good person, because it logically seemed right. My mother still sells essential oil line that uses the exact same techniques that this link does, and that's the tricky part. If you look at all the studies, you really want to believe weed will cure things because it's natural. It will seem obvious that cancer would be cured if weed was legal, and doctors in medical marijuana states are now only held back by greedy corporations and lack of funding. However, with a bit more skepticism and some understanding of science, you will realize that nowhere in any of the studies do the scientists say these cannabis chemicals cure anything. The first thing you need to know is that all but one of these 34 studies were done strictly on human cells in a vial or mice. Mice and cells are not tiny humans, but they can be used to test potential chemicals for treatment. Mice also have shorter lifespans, which can prevent scientists from detecting long-term negative effects. The biggest barrier to any drug is delivery and bioavailability. It is why there are up to 4 phases of clinical trials and only 1 in 1,000 make it through each phase, many of the chemicals coming from equally natural sources, either because there is a section of the genetic population that has serious side effects that mice never had, or because it cannot get to the area of the body needed because there are other areas of the body that will also take it up and have negative consequences. Now, when it comes to smoking weed, yes, you can't overdose. Yet with essential oils, including cannabis oil, there's been a rash of all-natural overdosing occurring, as scientists have no idea what a healthy dose or a toxic dose is, as they have not done enough research on it. There is one study that shows a chemical in weed seems to inhibit tumor growth and brain cancer, but certainly never says cures. It is just a pilot clinical trial, meaning there was just a tiny population used, and it could have just been coincidence. When we have a wider number of participants, the number may show no change at all. So yeah, sorry to kill your buzz, but other than the small pilot clinical trial on brain cancer, that isn't even phase 1, none of these studies say that weed cures anything. Just that they do things to animals or cells only, which are not little people. If that was the case, all sorts of drugs and cures would be available. The majority of drugs that work in animals or cells failed in being safe in either delivery or just a certain percentage of the population. What it means is that chemicals in weed are building a case to be candidates for clinical trials. It is so not proof, no matter how nice it would be, that weed cures anything. Please stop sharing this and help support science so we can get the funding to find out. Maybe this link will be right, but until we actually know, sharing this link is just straight up lying.